Pops, welcome to your 2024 astrology forecast. Let's just jump right into it. I know I'm recording this on the 5th, okay? I know I'm a little bit late. In my defense, nothing really crazy was happening until today on the 5th. So let's just address it and move forward. On the 5th, today, Mercury is entering your 8th house and it's going to conjoin Pluto as it makes its way into your 8th house. So Mercury is the planet of communication, speaking, talking, writing, using your voice. It's connecting the dots. It's getting from point A to point B. It's the text you send. It's the books that you read. It's the ideas that you have. Having this go into the 8th house is really diving beneath the surface. It's like you're going into the deep end instead of having your head above the water. And you're exploring. You're curious. You're feeling more transformative, more cathartic. You're even willing to feel some of the deeper, darker stuff that you typically kind of push down, and you almost want to look at it now with a sense of curiosity and understanding. You might be feeling a little bit more esoteric. It's like you could be feeling more interested in psychology or spirituality or like Wicca or something like that. And having that conjunction to Pluto, though, can sometimes be an intense conversation that requires you tapping into that depth or that empathy in order to sort of come to a conclusion. This can be financial as well. It can also be romantic. The 8th house is really where we overlap with people, either energetically, with trust, with sex, with transformation, with finances. Think of the way that when we partner with a bank, we are having a relationship of trust and transaction with them because they are trusting us to pay off our debt, and we are asking for things to borrow from them. In the same way that in our romantic relationships, there's an unspoken contract of I'm allowed to ask you for certain things, whether it is like, substantial or it is material or it's something that I emotionally need from you, and vice versa, trusting that person in return. So it can be transactional. It can be having to do with trust and secrets and even personal transformation, and that sort of intensity as we make our way right into the 5th of the month is really going to emphasize those themes. Mercury also rules your 12th house of like secrets and things that are more mystical, things that are a little bit more hidden and kind of beneath the surface, as well as like your mental health and illness and things where there's just general question marks, as well as your 3rd house of communication, transportation, the people and the things that are most familiar to you, but really the details and like your everyday way of communicating with people. So there's likely to even be like a truth revealed or the curtain being pulled back or something like that. On the 7th, Venus in your 7th house is going to come into a very intense square with the nodes that are in your 4th house opposite your 10th house. So the nodes by nature are a little bit more malefic, meaning sometimes they can be intense and obsessive and problematic, but they're also very pivotal and fated. So anytime we have a planet come into the bending of the nodes, it adds this sort of like pressure cooker point where all the attention is now going to be centered on that planet. In this case, it's Venus, which again is love, relationships, money, beauty, pleasure, all the Venetian themes. Having this in your 7th house is likely going to have to do with somebody else. It's not just limited to you. It's a relationship. It's a business partnership. It is a really anyone that you share a shared goal with. It can even be like an enemy that you are aware of, not a secret enemy, but having this in between a square between your private life and your public life, your home and your family and your living situation versus your career, your public reputation, your accomplishments. There's some sort of like change here happening with you and somebody else, whether it is like, oh, you're having this major change in your career because you are partnering with this company or because you are getting a promotion due to this person or thing or this contract. Equally as much as it can be that people are looking at you differently in the public eye because you finally separated from this person that you've lived with the last 10 years. It's going to look differently for everybody depending on how it's configured in their natal chart. On the 8th, the sun is going to square Uranus. So this across the board is just going to be a little bit of like an unexpected, unhinged day. It's nothing super rare. It's something that we experience every single year, actually twice a year, because the sun is going to square Uranus on either side of it. In this case, it's going to be when the sun is in Aquarius, and then it's also going to happen into the summer when it's in Leo again. So this is a good time to pay attention to what's going on now. This might be a preview of what's going to resurface and return into the summertime. But the sun square Uranus is usually just like shock factor, unpredictability, a fluke of nature, something that we did not expect happening. The sun is men, it's authority figures, it's politics, it's people that are in charge. So this is likely to be something we more so see in politics or in the news than it is in your like solely personal life in a very intense way. However, again, if it's touching on your personal placements, this will be intense for you. Coming into a square, so a little bit of an uncomfortable aspect with shaking up or sort of creating some sort of unpredictability. Uranus in the 11th house, I'm sorry. The sun is in your 9th house currently. It's gonna be squaring Uranus in your 11th house. So because Aquarius rules your 8th house and we're having a little bit of an Aquarius stellium, every planet is gonna be making its way into your 8th house one by one. So there's really gonna be an 8th house party happening for you this month. The spotlight, the main attention, the main show of this month is your 8th house and the transition into the 9th house. So now Mars is gonna enter your 8th house. This can bring a sense of frustration. It can bring changes. It can bring quick moving sort of catalyst energy to, again, things that are can I speak? Things that are in regards to shared finance, shared trust, personal transformation. I remember when I had Mars going through my 8th house, I was having a really rough time, but it forced me to do a lot of internal work. I really had to like go against my impulses and around the things that would typically give me immediate gratification and kind of face why I wanted those things. It actually brought me a lot of money as well. Granted, my chart is set up differently and this was a different time, but it's something to pay attention to where it's like lots of actions happening when it comes to diving deep and maybe a lot of changes happening financially at the same time. There can even be some acknowledgement of like repressed anger or even sexual energy or like primal instincts, whether that means that you're becoming more aware that they're repressed or you're acting on them. On the 14th, Mars is going to conjoin Pluto in the sky. So this is a pretty intense day. And listen, this is Valentine's Day, baby. So this is going to be affecting everybody. I don't even know what to expect for Valentine's Day. It is like so violent and volatile for no reason. There are some good aspects also happening on Valentine's Day, but this one's pretty intense. We're taking the planet of war and action and assertion and aggression and how we go after the things that we want, how we pursue our desires, how we passionately defend the things that we very much care about. But it's also kind of coming in this very intense configuration with Pluto, which is fear and power and control dynamics and intensity, and where we kind of have to rip the band-aid off and face the truth even if it hurts a little bit. So to have this in your 8th house, again, diving deep, looking inward, there just might be a general sense of feeling very raw this month. And I don't want to make it sound like it's a painful salt in the wound feeling for everybody across the board, but rather that you're just tapping into something that's a layer deeper than just surface level. And in some cases that can be very intimate and profound, and in other cases it can be a little bit triggering. There can just be a very powerful, profound thing changing and becoming a little bit more pivotal for you this month in regards to, again, the things that you share with other people, your marriage, your trust, your debt, whether that's literally or metaphorically, etc. But by the 16th, by mid-month, it goes a little bit back and forth. Okay, we're doing a little dance here with Venus where Venus kind of likes to soothe any wound that Mars caused and put a band-aid on it and say, shh, like, let's calm down. I got this. I'm going to fix this. It brings that sense of ease and pleasure and warmth to what Mars can sometimes rip open or make a little bit more abrasive. So on Valentine's Day, if there's anything a little bit like, ooh, okay, ouch, that was a little bit intense happening, by the 16th, Venus comes in and kind of soothes that wound and possibly offers a solution or just makes it a little bit better, or the storm has kind of blown over. But on the 17th, we're having Mercury square Uranus, and then Venus is going to conjoin Pluto. So what this does is adds a sense of, again, energy shaking up, very intense, profound, transformative truths around love and beauty and finances. This might have a lot to do with pleasure, why you want the things that you want, relationships, possibly secrets or things that are hidden within relationships, whether it's information, infidelity, intentions, anything that's like where maybe someone can't see your cards or you can't see their cards. So Mercury square Uranus is shock factor when it comes to communication, transportation, or again, connecting the dots. It's like all of the smaller moving parts of the bigger, well-oiled machine. So when we have Uranus come in, it's like a fluke of nature. It's like someone throws a wrench in the mix and now everyone's like, what's going on? And you have to adapt to this change. It can be liberation, but it can also be rebellion, and there can be a break-off point, a separation, or even just like somebody pushing back and saying like, no, I'm not doing this anymore, in a way that you're taken back by. Having Venus conjoin Pluto, again, is this intense aspect of like, power and control dynamics and fear and manipulation and being possessive and obsessive and love and romance, and with finances as well. Again, this is going to be happening right in your 8th house, right on the precipice of your 7th into your 8th house. So relationships, and then diving deep within those relationships. Definitely something to keep an eye on mid-month. I do think by the end of the month, you'll probably be having a serious conversation about what happens mid-month, whether that's for better or for worse. I think it will be addressed in a very responsible adult way. On the 19th, the sun is going to enter your 9th house, and then on the 23rd, Mercury is going to enter your 9th house. So pretty much I'll say late middle into the end of the month, you're really going from this really deep, cathartic, transformative, intense place into what is now a little bit more enlightened and open-minded, and sort of seeing the silver lining, or being a bit more optimistic sort of energy. So I like this because it looks like, again, you dive under the water, you go really deep, you're looking for things, you're looking at the bottom of the ocean, you're grabbing the things that you need before you come up for air, and the 9th house is you coming up for that air and seeing the world in a different way after your experience under the water. So it's sort of the enlightenment. It's like you're coming out of the cave and seeing the sun for the first time. Really, the 8th house brings you down to your knees and kind of brings you to this challenging, shameful place of needing to kind of culminate your own power in order to stand back up on your own 2 feet again. And then making its way into the 9th house is like, I'm kind of happy that I went through that experience, even though it was challenging, because now I see the world in a new way. So there's going to be an emphasis on spotlight, attention, just maybe more energy in regards to faith, traveling, education, philosophy, your sense of understanding of the world, your knowledge based off of experiences, your wisdom gained from experiences. And for some people, it might be more literal, like maybe you are taking a course, maybe you are going back to school, maybe you're going on vacation, maybe you are having a spiritual awakening. Again, it's going to look differently for everybody. On the 24th, you're having a full moon in your 3rd house. So the 3rd house, again, we're seeing a lot of themes around the way that you're communicating, the way that you talk to people, the things you talk about, who you talk about them with, the substance of where your mind, your thoughts, your intellect, and your cerebral energy is out at. Having a full moon here is usually going to be a wrapping up of a cycle, a closing of a chapter, or a wrapping up of loose ends in regards to the way you speak, transportation, even things with your car, your siblings, your neighborhood, things that are most familiar to you in your everyday life, some of your habits, but even really where your head is at. So this is actually going to be the closing of a chapter that began back in the middle of September 2023, because we had a new moon in Virgo back then, and now we're having the full moon here. So there was a 6-month cycle happening where you're closing the door to the one that opened back then. On the 25th, Venus is going to square Jupiter. Very lucky, good day for everybody across the board. It's just very inviting and encouraging you to kind of play with your luck a little bit. I always say to get a scratch off on a day like this, tap into your creativity, really lean into the ease and the pleasure and the joy of both benefics meeting in the sky to kind of give us an opportunity of luck, or of good fortune, or of abundance, or of our ability to kind of just tap into some extra sweetness that day. And then on the 28th, we end the month again with Mercury conjunct Saturn. In the middle of the month, Mercury squared Uranus. Unexpected, shock, unpredictability. Okay, we need to adapt to this. There's a change happening. By the end of the month, it might be a little bit more stoic and reserved and settled down, where this might not be a conversation or a conclusion that you wanted to come to, but you know you have to come to it, and you're kind of handling it in an adult way moving forward. There might be a little bit of a slap on the wrist where it feels like you don't get to say the things that you want to say, or you have to bite your tongue, or there's a little bit of a almost like conservative energy to it, feeling a little bit limited in your communication. But overall, I think that there's a transition of you having a lot of personal transformation this month, even if it's a little bit challenging. And then with your newfound information, being able to see things in a new way and assess them and move forward to the things that give you good opportunities rather than limit them. And that's pretty much your month of February, Cancer. I hope that this helped you. If you have any questions, let me know. I'd love to hear what you're going through in the comments down below. Of course, all these people that are Cancer risings, you guys are going through similar things. So if there's anyone you should speak to, it's the people that are kind of going through life the same way as you right now. If you want to book a personal reading, that will help you understand how this is going to affect you more specifically on your natal chart. Everything that you need is going to be linked in the description down below. You can go to kmoney.biz and follow me everywhere else. I hope that this helped you guys. I hope you have an amazing month and a happy Valentine's Day, and thank you so much for watching.